Dominique, SDC as a donor agency for development cooperation, you have prioritized gender and social inclusion for many decades in dual VET projects. Could you please provide more information how SDC approach towards addressing gender and social inclusion in dual VET has changed now with a broader perspective towards transformative approaches?
We have a law from 1976, and the constitutional mandate as SDC is the focus is really on alleviation of the need and poverty. We have to promote the respect of human rights and democracy and peaceful and coexistence of people. This is to say that our activities have for many years been guided by the leave no one behind principle, and most importantly by this imperative of integrating women, excluded population groups into different sphere of society, the political, social, economic process, and these are all central, of course, priority of the 2030 agenda. So SDC integrates the leaving no one behind into its result-based program in the project cycle management, and it makes now an integral part of its systemic approach. We have also new guidance. We had a guidance for how to integrate gender for many years. Now also one of the challenge, we have a leave no behind guidelines, and we have to try to also to integrate. But what is new and interesting is that we'll see later, but in our indicator, in our system of the indicators, we really try now to disaggregate not only by gender but also to include other aspects of discrimination, other aspects linked to the leave no one behind principle. So we are really committed for this transformative change by tackling exclusion, discrimination, and inequality. But as Sandra said, this is very complex, and we will discuss how we can try to do it and what should maybe do better, or how to learn from project and trends. So this equity perspective ensure that through its program, SDC aim at also balancing power, interest, and participation in this decision making. This is also why in all our projects we make a political, or we try in all projects to make a political economic analysis, so to identify this power relation, and try also to monitor through the project the context evolution and specific to the project specific field of transformation, really to try to tackle this exclusion and discrimination. Whenever mainstreaming alone is unlikely to achieve the transformational change, at SDC we combine with specific target intervention, and we saw this was also one of the takeaway of one previous events, that probably both are required really to be able to have a transformation. We know the risk of mainstreaming, that sometimes it could not really lead to the changes that we intend to have. Also, when developing vocational skills development program at SDC, we try to ensure that gender perspective and the social inclusion are taken into account from the beginning and in the whole PCM cycle. So really also the importance to start with a very good, deep and comprehensive analysis, including gender analysis and leave no one behind also aspect to understand the factor underlying also the exclusion, and then try to monitor this over the cycle of the project. But it's really integrated in the PCM cycle. We discuss this later, and of course we have bilateral and multilateral cooperation. Now, just to name some of gender-sensitive and social inclusion skills development that we promote in our project, is very important for us. The equal access to education is very important, or the way we address market demands. career counseling and guidance, also important, incentive for training provider. And today, this is the topic of one of the breakout session with Elfetas. And also we try to advocacy through community leaders and female role models. It can be very effective way of reaching, in particular, women and their families. And we also try to empower and but work with men and boys as driver of change, also to promote this more redistribution of power. This maybe is like a new trends that we're also trying to include more systematically in the project. So men and boys also as driver of change in the families and societies. Could also maybe discuss of this later. There are so many aspects. We developed in the last few years a typology of typical project approaches, which we also use to raise awareness for trade-off. So we can have projects that focus more on working informal vet system, and others promoting quick wins for labor market integration of specific target groups. Also, another dimension is between economic objective like growth and competitiveness, and on the other end, more social objective, like leave no one behind and better access to vet for all. So our message is quite clear. We have different type of skills development project with different outcome, and they should find their place in their portfolio of SDC according to the context, specific challenges to be addressed, the importance of systemic approach, and we will come later on specific instruments, monitoring, evaluation, new trends for trying to report on this transformational change.
Very brief contribution from SDC also on what the minimum aggregate data you are requiring from projects and what SDC's position is on gender and social inclusion and measuring impact.
Yes, thank you, Sandra. So gender mainstreaming is mandatory at SDC, yeah? And since a couple of years now, we have aggregated and thematic result indicators. For vocational skills development, we have 5 of these standards indicators, and they're all disaggregated not only by gender, but we try also to have one target left behind vulnerable population group. So this is something new. It will also be easier, and we are developing at SDC a digital platform to aggregate all the information, all the indicators will be introduced in this digital platform, and with this aggregated and thematic result indicator, it will be also easier then to monitor, to track it, to influence then the strategic level. And additionally, of this thematic result indicator, that, as I said, is mandatory to have it disaggregated by gender, and when possible also vulnerable group. We have specific gender indicator that we can also choose. It depends on the context, on the project. So I think this is it helps project. In my view, it really helps project because they can choose on the list of this project. We also provide guidance which indicator better suits the type of project you are implementing. And it really facilitate also the monitoring. And as a standard rule, every project should at least have 50% of the indicators coming from the standard list, and then 50% of indicators are the project can choose. It depends on the context, and it's really project specific. So this is one way. Then of course we also notice at SDC, so from this gender sensitive approach, there is a move to a more gender transformative approach. It has implication. I think first of all, we have many instruments at SDC for gender mainstreaming, also for monitoring. But one step is to make a good use and use more systematically all these gender tools in the PCM, particularly to at the beginning in the gender analysis, also to have a reliable baseline data. This is very important. Collect and analyze disaggregated data. And as was mentioned, we try also to enhance the information system and the production of this aggregated data, because we know is a challenge and is highly political, this topic, but is very relevant for the monitoring in this context. And another important issue where I think we have still to improve is the qualitative aspects of the result. There are interesting approaches and methods in different projects. This can also help to have a better analysis of the result and to track this transformation. But in general, I think we need maybe more critical monitoring of changes and need for more intersectional also monitoring.